I think that might be it, Dan. Good morning.
Good morning, Jalf. How are you?
I'm all right. Yourself?
Yeah. I've had a little bit of a cold, but I'm bright and breezy this morning. It's on its way out, so feeling positive.
Good to see you. And Amar can't make it today.
No, he is otherwise disposed at a quite an important, prestigious event that's happening at the Newcastle United conference rooms, and he is with lots of people from the NHS and the AHSM, which is the Academic Health Science Network, and he is promoting and working with those guys to instigate innovation through the YOLA program, which we are running. So it's a really good, engaging and inspiring day for all of those people down there today at NUFC.
Good. And those that don't know, Amar is actually a very, very busy man, and he's got so many different interests, and he's got so many different titles and so many different commitments. So for Spice FM and show business to have him on a week-to-week basis, as we have done for such a long period, it just shows the commitment that he has had to show business and this radio show over that we've been running for over a decade now. So I guess there's moments where we have to accept that there's things where he has to physically be. He might not control the timings and things like that, but it's great for him to go and represent us at these wonderful occasions, and especially this particular one, which is all about, I think, is it all about ladies football as well? It's got something to do with that, right?
No.
That's a different event. That's on Sunday.
Like you said, Jalf, he's a very busy man, and that is another engagement, but it does involve NUFC. You'll get to it in a second.
But
because we definitely should talk football because the World Cup, obviously. But the thing that he's at today is really for the NHS as a broader organisation, and in particular with its connection to the northeast, because it's a huge, as you'd imagine, the NHS is a huge thing, right? And it's very difficult to get people aligned and to get people on the same page and to kind of, get them all doing the right thing at the right time. This is essentially the Northeastern North Cumbria ICB, which is basically it's the Innovation Research Partnership Forum, and it's the Integrated Care Board. So what the NHS, the grander plans for the NHS, just broadly speaking, is to try and make things better for patients overall and their experiences. And anybody who's tried to book a doctor's appointment, like I did the other day, is potentially struggling at the moment because of the high levels of service needed, potentially the lack of staff within the overall structure, or the ability to recruit. And really, I think what Amar's bringing to the party is the ability to look at things in a different way for these organizations so that they can innovate and they can use things like technology and like innovation to actually improve their services and improve what they do. So this is a conference that's in conjunction with the Academic Health Science Network. It's a collaboration as well with lots of clinical research networks as well. And it's an opportunity to learn about the role of the Integrated Care Board and what it's doing to nurture healthcare, innovation and research across the region's healthcare system. So it's very much a healthcare NHS-based event today that's going on. I've seen some pictures already. You can kind of look at it on social media, in particular across Twitter. There is a handle of NENC_NHS. If anybody wants to go on and see the latest stuff that's happening there. But it's a really good thing that's going on in our region, and obviously very well supported by Spice FM and the umbrella organisations that we work with. So that's that, Jalf.
Excellent. Well, that's a very, very important cause, and it's really important that the NHS, which is, I mean, God, listening to some politicians over the years, the NHS is kind of the lifeblood of our society. and we're very a unique nation because and the NHS plays a massive part in what Britain is and what it gives us and what it has given us over the years. I think it's an absolute tragedy, though, that it is where it is at this moment in time. And whatever their bigger plan is that they don't tell us about in terms of do they want to privatize it or not, but the if we, taxpaying individuals, if we can't get an appointment to go and see a doctor, and if it's a rare occasion because we're trying to keep ourselves as healthy as possible, that's a kind of travesty. And we're not politicians, but as a society, the NHS is so integral to our lives, and when that's under threat, which I feel it is at the moment, it's really worrying, and it should be given major priority and a focus to try and do the best that they can to be able to get that back to what it was set out to be.
Yeah, I think you're right, Jalf, and I think the concern is if you, like you've just referenced there, if you're just only there once in a blue moon, and typically as blokes in our middle age, we're the last people to want to go to the doctors, and then actually when you get man flu, and being how bad it is, you need to get there to get sorted. So I totally agree with what you're saying, and I think part of this really demonstrates the work that's being done in the background, potentially under the covers, that nobody really gets to see. And we're all very quick to just slate Matt Hancock or the new health secretary, or the politicians and sort of. I think whilst the guidance may be given from those higher echelons, it's the people on the ground that, the people that I was working with today that are truly making the difference into how it's going to be organized and how it's going to be run in the future. And because there's strategy and there's planning and there's all those things that go into it, it can't be a quick fix. It's going to be rolled out over a number of months, potentially years, until it improves. And in the meantime, and especially, in particular in my doctor's surgery and around many doctor's surgeries, if you're getting frustrated with people who are in reception, or if you're getting frustrated with the doctor in the surgery, or you're getting frustrated, there's just no point. It's literally not their fault. They're doing
their fault at
everything
all.
they can.
Well, they are, but they need to be given the tools and the resources from those above.
Yeah.
But there are, worrying. There are a lot of worrying actions that they've been taken, which make you wonder what their big plan is for the NHS. And that's the thing that we should all oppose if they want to try and privatize something like that. Because sometimes you think that, oh, well, like other than going to the doctor, Dan, the GP, if there's anything else that you would ordinarily rely on the NHS, I wouldn't even think about going to it, because you wouldn't even get an appointment. So, for example, you want to go to the dentist. I mean, that is private. You want to go and see a physio, forget it. You have to go private. You want to go and see a chiropodist, forget it. You have to go private. So there is that only because you want to be able to get the appointments quickly. And sometimes, in some instances, you would get the same person as you would get through the NHS, but you're paying to go and see that individual privately, only because you can get that appointment a lot quicker. If that's a trend that they want to continue and become the marker, then I just feel that I would personally, as one, would feel aggrieved, because when you pay a huge amount of taxes, you think to yourself, okay, I mean, that's one of the things that you would always be good to pay taxes towards, But when you feel that you don't get the timings are just, oh well, we'll see you next week. I said, well, hi, I need to see you today, you know. And I've heard a lot of stories where they say, oh well, only come to me with one problem. I mean, the human health, the body is, I mean, you know, you can't go to the doctor and not talk to them about another problem. How can the doctors even, you know, how do they feel about saying to their patients, well, actually, you're suffering from this illness, but I don't even want to talk about it. I mean, I don't know what kind of rules and who's coming up with these rules, because if I was a doctor and my responsibility is looking after my patients, I'm not going to send them away because I can only discuss one health problem with them. You know, it's my patient. I want to make sure that they are going to be okay, whether they've got one problem or two problems or three problems. I want to give them the solutions and give them the right protocols to be able to deal with all of those problems that they have. Yeah. So there's so many issues. Let's hope that Amar and Co and others that are there are able to understand the things that we suffer from and give us the solutions. And they have to be able to action these solutions fast, because we've seen the government can act fast when they want. And they need to just give it the priority. And we've also seen the government seems to be able to pull the money out to causes when they want. So this is very, very an important cause for all of us. So get the money out, because we know that you can do it.
Yeah, I think your sentiments are you know, probably I think it's the entire nation, Jalf. And you know, I was fortunate enough I actually just gave up ringing at one point, because I think I'd been on the phone for like 45 minutes and I was like, this isn't working. And by that point, my wife was like, why don't you go down there? Went down there, they were like, and it was, you know, and it gets later in the morning, they're like, all the appointments for that day are stacked out, so you just can't do it. And I then decided that on the following day I'd go down there specifically with the intent of booking an appointment in person. And I was lucky enough to see the receptionist. She was lovely. She got me booked in. Went back later on and I saw a doctor, and it was great. So there is a method and a ways around getting to see them. You probably just need to be on your front foot a little bit more and kind of bypass the herds, if you like, if you're trying to, you're desperate to get in there, you know, and you want to do it. And actually, you know, the thing that I said to her, because I was like, like you were saying, Jalf, you know, you might have 4 or 5 things that you want to talk about and a diminishing amount of importance. And I just wanted to tackle my cold, but there was a couple of other things I wanted to speak to her about. I'm on some other medication for cholesterol and things like that. And I said to her, look, I was like, I don't come to the doctors very often. And I said, I just feel like I need to get booked in for an MOT, you know, like just I haven't had bloods taken in about the last 5 years and all that kind of stuff. So she was really kind. She said, I'll get you booked in. So 30th of November, I'm booked in for my MOT. Hopefully there's not too many parts that need to be replaced.
Well, hey, look, you know, as you get over a certain age threshold, there's always going to be certain things that, you know, we need to look after. And it's probably in the longer term, if we are being proactive and doing these MOTs and we're understanding what is required, we might be able to make adjustments in our lifestyle and this and that, which will then put us in a better stead to be able to look after ourselves, which is going to take away a lot more pressure from the NHS. So, you know, I think the initiatives that you're taking, and I think it's probably in the longer term, it's going to be much more beneficial. So I mean, it's a difficult one, and hopefully the ministers and all the individuals that are involved in trying to make the right calls on this is going to lead to a direct improvement to what we, the patients, experience moving forward.
Yeah, I agree.
Good.
I agree.
Excellent. So, Dan, I think we've touched quite a lot there on NHS. Ladies football, should we talk? Let's let that be the inroad into talking about football. So NUFC, they've got I wouldn't even say it's a big game, on Sunday, but it's in terms of the attendance, I think it's going to be record breaking from what I've heard.
I did hear that this week, and not that I'm an avid watcher of Celebrity Get Me Out of Here, but there was a question this week. You know, when they go and win the little treats like brownies or biscuits or love hearts, and basically they've got this bloke who rides along on a bike, and he asks the question. He rings up the phone, and the phone box in the camp rings, and somebody goes to answer it. And this year they've been particularly bad at guessing the right answer. And the question was, and this is probably about a week ago now, out of these three things, which had the highest television viewing numbers? So men's Euros, women's Euros, or the Queen's funeral?
God, I would have thought the Queen's funeral.
Exactly the same as me, Jalf. I would have thought that, and I think that's actually what they answered with, and it was incorrect. It was the women. It was the women's Euros.
Really?
Had the highest viewing figures in this country out of all of those three events, and I was amazed. And you had Jill Scott, you know, the England. Oh, she's ex-England player now, but you know, she played in the Euros, and she was really humbled by it. I mean, she was like, "What? Like more than the Queen's funeral? Like that's just." You know, it's on the rise for sure, and it's fantastic. It's amazing that women's football is getting the interest and the notoriety that it's getting, and you know, I just think it's like long overdue. I mean, doing what they did in the Euros was fantastic. And I think, and serving to anybody now is an inspiration towards getting you to a game, getting you to football. I don't actually think of it as women's football anymore. I think of it as just like it's football, but women playing football. You know, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. I think it's all. I'm all for the women's football getting the kind of kudos that it's getting at the moment. What before I ever watched a women's match, what was important for me is that I love football. I'm a season ticket holder. I watch every single game, watch every single match, and most of the games in the World Cup, and I have been doing for years and years. For me, it was all about the quality. The only way that I would be interested in watching women's football if it was of a certain quality that made me look at it, oh wow, you know what, these girls are good. And I was a bit surprised to see the quality and the level of goals that were scored in the Euros. And then I said to myself, do you know what? If these girls are at this level and this is the quality of it, then it is gonna begin to get a lot more notoriety and become a lot bigger and bigger as there is more focus on it. So that's a really, really impressive development. And I think as time goes by and the bigger coaches are involved and the money is put in, I think that's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So I think, yes, it should be football and women's playing, but there's a few things that confuse me as well. And this maybe is not a debate to have at the moment, but for example, you have the man of the match, right? They've now changed that to the player of the match, but why? What's wrong in having man of the match and woman of the match? I don't get that. Because when they say player of the match, they say it's because of the women's football, but why should that need to have an impact on the men's game? I'm not sure about certain things like that. And because man of the match is the man of the match. So I think the women's football is going to go down its own particular route, and it's only because it's women's football at the end of the day. They don't have the history of the men's, and they're just growing, and that's going to evolve. But it should evolve, you know, in its own kind of journey, because it's going to be a totally different journey to the men's game. But obviously, if they can take the specialists from the men's games, such as the coaches and the facilities, as they do in Man City and A, B, C, and D, then they're going to benefit of from the nutrition people, from the physio people, from the tactical people, and that's going to put them in a much better position. So they've got the same facilities as what the men have, and maybe sometimes in the women's sports, you don't have the recognizable coaches and this and that, and maybe slowly you will get the more high profile coaches managing the women's game, which is also going to improve them in terms of a team and how they perform. So I think the journey's it's not just a new journey which has just started. I guess they're just the profile is kind of rising day by day, week by week, and I think in 5 years' time it's going to be a different beast to what it is today. And we're fortunate as a city that we have a lady in Amanda Staveley who's come and changed the whole dynamic of the city in terms of the outlook to NUFC, and the fact that she's given the ladies' game so much focus. We're very lucky to have her, and the ladies' team are very lucky to have a lady like Amanda who's gonna just transform that football, the women's football, and you can see that their ambitions will be in a very short period of time to be up there with the Man Cities and the Arsenals and all the other big ladies teams that are out there.
I mean, I think there's some amazing things going on, Jalf, and for sure, and I get that there's almost some controversy as things start to come to life and become more followed and more, and people making decisions maybe aren't making the right decisions about what to call certain things or say certain things, and it's kind of like just it's that era of our time, and that's where we stand on things. But I was just looking for some stats actually, because well, two things really. The Canadian men played the other night. I don't know if you saw them, but they looked like a fantastic team, really fit, really energized, and really sort of up for it. Their technical ability and their passing, and there's certain things that weren't there. But the manager, who is from the Northeast,
he's from Concord, isn't he?
He is. Yeah. He's called John Herdman, and actually his background was that prior to coaching the men's team, he led the women's team.
Okay.
And
in Canada.
In Canada.
Okay.
So he took over in 2011. He led them to a gold in the 2011 Pan American Games in Mexico. He then went on to get qualifying spots for the London Olympic Games, and they got a bronze medal in those games. And then furthermore, he went on in 2016 to the Rio Games, and they retained their bronze medal again at that competition. So he's got a real pedigree, and I think he knows what he's doing. And the funny thing is, he doesn't look like a guy from Concert.
He looks very smart when he's all suited and booted. Yeah, I think I was listening to his brother who was on Tyne Tees or something yesterday or the day before. I caught a little glimpse of that. I think we're all very proud though, as Geordies, that a fellow Geordie is kind of on the world stage at the moment. It's like a real big deal.
Yeah, it's almost like it's kind of like the reverse of that Ted Lasso show, if you like, in terms of the Englishman going over to coach the American team rather than the American coming here, sort of thing. So
yeah,
all the best to him, and fantastic results. But I just think it's a good segue, Jalf, whilst we're talking about this, to just talk about the work that Amar was doing prior to his most recent partnership and sponsorship with which I'll come to in a second. Is that for a number of years, I believe 3 5 years. And again, I'm going to, I recognize that this isn't helpful for people on radio, but please go and look at our YouTube channel and please watch the show back if you'd like to see any of the things that we show on screen from time to time. But basically, this team here, which I don't know if you can see now, Jalf.
Yeah,
is and you can see Amar's logo actually on there on the shirts, is the Newcastle University team,
okay.
which I believe he is sponsored now for something like 5 years.
Okay.
And the team having varying degrees of success over time, and obviously very proud to represent the leading university of the region, really, and kind of like some great sporting achievements within what those girls have been doing. But more poignantly, leading to the weekend's match, which you referenced earlier, for the NUFC girls team or women's team, is that Amar is happy to be a sponsor through his consultancy to NUFC women's team this weekend. So the kickoff's at 2 p.m. And I'm not sure if you've looked at what they're sort of hypothesizing gate numbers are going to be, Jalf, or not. I was looking and I heard in the news this week that it was somewhere in the sort of late 20s.
Yeah, I think they've got 25,000 tickets sold, and I know that Mehrad's been on Twitter saying that, come on, let's give it a bit more of a push and let's get it up to 35. So, I mean, the loyal Geordies, when they're asked to do something, they usually kind of deliver. So, I mean, I think there'll be 30,000 plus there this weekend, which is, I think that's going to be the biggest. It's going to be the biggest numbers in any. Is that right? It's going to be the biggest numbers in any female match, or I'm not too sure. It was something I heard something on those lines.
Yeah,
certainly as far as Newcastle United is concerned.
I think,
but I'm just wondering, is that the case across the entire country, or is it just Newcastle? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I mean, just for the reference, this weekend, it is a semi-important match because it's the FA Cup for women. The women's FA Cup. It's against Barnsley at 2 p.m. on Sunday, the 27th of November. And really, I think one of the most poignant things here, right? There's two things, is that what I heard this week, and I need to be set straight if it's not the case, but the NUFC women's wasn't kind of part of the fold, if you like, or the fabric, until the new ownership had come in. And from what I'd heard, and now they're part of it. Mm-hmm. Now, when we look at it, and we look at the women's Super League, which is kind of equivalent to the men's Premier League, that Newcastle, it'd be fair to say, isn't in there right now.
Yeah.
But our gate attendances, and quite frankly, the ability of the team, and the trajectory that they are traveling along, is going to hopefully catapult them into that stratosphere in the coming months. And looking at the sort of gate attendances that we do have, and the popularity of it in the region, and the following that it has, I mean, it's just absolutely amazing to think that we can, St. James's is not going to feel empty with 30,000 people in there. It's going to feel still good. And those gate numbers are doubling some of the WSL figures, which is phenomenal, and long may it continue.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think, like you said, the more profile that we get over the next weeks, months, and years, and once you get into those, get into the, let's say, the Ladies Premier League, hopefully that's going to be all a matter of improving the squad and investment and investing in new players. I think the infrastructure, obviously they'll benefit, I'm assuming, from the infrastructure that's in place for the men's. So I think, look, if we have this conversation in a year's time, Dan, we're going to be having a different conversation in terms of how it's progressed and where it is. Yeah. So yeah, let's maybe put in a date and have this conversation this time next year and give an update to our listeners in terms of the progress of Newcastle United ladies.
Sounds good. And Jalf, I can't stand it any longer without mentioning Richarlison.
Are you a Tottenham fan?
No, I'm talking about Brazil. I'm talking about Brazil. I'm talking about the yellow, the Canaries, or whatever you want to call it. But
yeah, of course.
Did you see the goal?
Look, I think before we talk about the goal, the World Cup, every single World Cup, it's the biggest tournament, the biggest spectacle in sport in the world. And regardless of what you love, everyone has to accept that football is the biggest sport and the World Cup is the best of the best. And Brazil, especially, for me, the World Cup starts when Brazil starts, because they are what football should be all about in terms of the way that they play. The boys from Brazil, as they've always said, when they come in, I mean, what the crowd brings into the atmosphere, the style, the play. I mean, Richarlison, I mean, he's the second goal especially was just unbelievable. I mean, it was interesting that it was the last game of the first phase, and you're just kind of waiting for Brazil to do their thing, and they delivered in the second half, and I think they're just warming up and getting started. So yeah, obviously, it's been, although there's been all of that controversy around it, I just think that the media just needs to focus on football. It's a football tournament. Whatever your political agenda is, this is not the right time to make your points, because they were given that World Cup from 12 years ago, and it's there now. You have to accept it and show and talk about it from a sporting perspective, because I want to put the TV on. I don't want to hear Guy Lineker ranting on about this, and this, all non-football stuff. And I know for a fact that within the legalities of sport, they have got clear clauses saying that football and politics cannot mix together. And that would be the worst thing for football once the politicians start to utilize football to getting their points across. And I highly disagree with that. It's got to be, football is football at the end of the day. I love football. I want to watch, if I want to watch politics, I'm going to go watch Question Time. And I'll go and put on the BBC News. But when I want to watch the football, I don't want to listen to the politics. And I know that I spoke to lots of peers and lots of other colleagues and lots of other friends, and it comes to the point, say, hey, come on, lads, get on with the football, man, because that's when I want to hear the coverage. I want to hear, instead of you going on breaks, keep on talking about this, why don't you show me some footage from the previous World Cups? Because that's what I want to see. As a kid, that's what you want to see. You want to see what they've done, all the big moments of the World Cup. I want them to recreate those, and I want to live that and see it, so I can get into the groove, get into the zone. So that's the only negative that I felt. But I mean, it's just warming up, and some of the results, they've been incredible. I mean, with Argentina getting beat by the Saudis, the Japan beating Germany. I mean, it's just unbelievable. You just don't expect those things to happen.
No, I totally agree, and I think only the World Cup can make those things happen, and that's why it's such a special event. And I'm sorry, Jalf, just to go back to the goal, but because for me, that was some kind of like Brazilian
magic,
kind of like, that Brazilian martial art thing that they do.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
was
yeah.
the way he tapped that with his left foot and scored with his right, and it was above his head and it was over his shoulder, and it was just like, is that a bicycle? Is it a roundhouse? Is it a whatever? Like kind of, you know, that's it. That was the best goal of the tournament so far.
It's the best goal of the tournament so far, without a doubt. I think the one that Japan scored, that was an incredible goal as well.
Yeah.
But Richarlison's is definitely up there, and he's a feisty character, Richarlison. And you know, the coach came out and said he smells of goals. I mean, imagine though. I mean, do you know, like the coaches, you're making your decision on who to play. I think the form would tell you that Jesus was the one to be the number 9 because of his form for Arsenal. But if the coach feels that he smells of goals, he puts him in, and then it's vindicated. So I think there is a lot of, I think I mean, you know, someone was saying, well, who do you think is going to win the World Cup? And I said, look, you can only predict, but no one knows, because so many things can go wrong and so many things can go right. If the footballing gods have their say, I remember in one of the Champions League games, Chelsea, and it was a 5th penalty, and it was Didier Drogba, and Gary Neville was saying that, you know what, this is written in the stars. Didier Drogba, Chelsea legend, the final goal, the final penalty of the Champions League final, he's going to score because it's written. Now, and it was, and that's exactly what he did. So it depends. If the footballing gods have their say, the greatest footballers of our lifetime is Ronaldo and Messi. I think they're not going to go out quietly. I hope they don't. They'll have their say. I think England is, for me, we've been the best team in the tournament so far. I know it was against Iran, and I don't want to get carried away or anything, but they played like lions, like proper lions. They were brave, and I think maybe Gareth Southgate is always deemed to be a defensive-minded coach, but he must have said to them, look, guys, just go on, you know, let them loose. Let them loose, and the outcome is just an incredible result against Iran. And you know, I'm hopeful that, you know, we can continue in the same vein tonight. Although I'm not kind of I'm going to be more sensible about it, and I'm not kind of, you know, I'm not going to lose myself at the moment. So we want to be able to get a good result, however way it is. I don't care. I don't care if it's like, it doesn't have to be another 6-2 result. If it's a 1-0, 85th minute, we'll take it, as long as we get the 6 points and get into the next round.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's gearing up to be an amazing World Cup. Some of the results and the goals have been amazing. I'm going there myself, you know, Dan. I've got tickets for the quarterfinal and semi-final. So I'm going away on the 8th for 7 nights. Yeah, so that's going to be, and we don't know who's going to be in the quarters, in the semi, sorry, but if it all goes according to the charts, it'll be Brazil and Argentina. Wow. So yeah, that would be like an amazing once in a lifetime experience.
Be electrifying.
I'm gonna have my Newcastle top on when I go, so
we'll be able to pick you out.
Yeah, well, let them do it. But I think Newcastle as a team, it's not like I think hopefully it's going to be a well-loved team around the world, you know, because we don't have any rivalries, because we haven't done it on the world stage at the moment. So we haven't won anything yet. So people will look at us as underdogs, so they might be a bit sympathetic and friendly towards us, you know.
Maybe. I think that you'll probably make some friends if you've got that top on. That's the main thing. Wherever that black and white top goes, there's camaraderie, and people who want to speak to you. That's my experience, and you know, it was great. We talked about Brazil a bit, and you know, like we saw the level of quality and depth that they've got, that they brought onto the pitch last night. You know, and they didn't even get to Bruno. but he was there at the end and he was celebrating with his mates, and and it was really nice to see him on there. And I hope he does get a good look in at some point.
I think. Well, who do you think is going to win, Dan?
Oh, mate, it's just like it's the thing that it just when there's a couple of upsets early doors, it saddens my mind a bit, Scotty. Like, it's not like this is not how it's hardwired to sort of be and turn out. I have to say, on paper, and looking at what I looked at from a Brazil point of view last night, I thought Serbia put up a hard fight, to be fair, in the first half. And they just lapse of concentration, went down, and what happened, and it was spectacular what happened. But sort of, I think they've got an extremely good chance because of strength in depth. When I looked at the France game the other day, I thought, now obviously you look at the point opponents, and you've got to take it with a pinch of salt potentially. But I think probably between those two, I've got my feelings about at the moment. I think England's. I feel like England's going to be in the quarters.
Yeah.
I feel like England's hardest match is going to be next week. Funny enough,
Wales.
Yeah, I do. I just think they've got a point to prove. I think like 64 years have not been there, and they want to take it as far as they can get it.
It's just the quality of England is just unbelievable.
Yeah,
I mean, when you look at Netherlands, for example, I mean, they don't even have a recognized or a good number 9. It's unbelievable with the players that they've had in the past. But I mean, we're bringing on Jack Grealish, we're bringing on Callum Wilson, we're bringing on Phil Foden. I mean, what's the value of those 3 players? Well, especially Jack Grealish is 100. Phil Foden will be like 70, 80 million. And then I looked at Netherlands, I'm thinking that, you've got like Van Dijk and this and that, but your strikers, you don't even have anyone of any note. So there's certain teams, I mean, the thing with France has probably got the best player in the world in Mbappe at this moment in time. Now, when he's on it, he's unstoppable. If he has a good day, then he'll just blow anyone out the water. So you just really don't know how it's going to go. With Brazil, with the Neymar injury, I don't think they're going to miss him too much. I think it might be better for them in some ways, because they're going to put you have to play Neymar whether he's in form or not, because he's Neymar. But I don't think, I mean, he's had a great season. He's an amazing player, but I don't think they can live without him for at least the next couple of games. And that Rodrigo that came on, Jesus, he was just something else. I mean, that little the boy that plays for Real Madrid, he was just incredible. So I think they probably play Rodrigo, and he's going to give you so much more energy than Neymar, because he's a young kid. He's going to run around, and he's going to, he'll give you a lot of that. So I think Brazil is definitely up there. They're gonna take some stopping. We're up there. Let's see what Argentina are like tomorrow. I think Spain, obviously, they had an amazing result. Interestingly, if Spain beat Germany, Germany are out. They need to. Again, Germany, I thought it was so disrespectful taking that photograph with their mouths above their faces. Just focus on the football, boys. Just focus on the football, because all of those things are distractions. Why distract yourself in the world's greatest tournament because of some other points that you want to make? So I'm surprised that the coach is allowing them to do things like that. I would say, if it was my players, I'd say, look, man, our line is that, look, we're here to play football. I appreciate that we have to represent A, B, C, and D, but that's not for us. We're here football players. We want to represent football. We want to do everything. I mean, imagine your team photograph that you want to show your family members, and you got your face over your mouth, and then they can say, well, what happened in that match? Oh yeah, we got hammered by the Japanese. What did you do? Even Rudiger, and I like Rudiger, but Rudiger disrespect him, that player, because when he was thinking, oh look, I'm faster than you, I'm better than you. I mean, that's just sheer arrogance. and then when they scored, they turned around and they were all looking at Rudiger. He couldn't even show his face to them, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, and I think even I don't know. I was thinking to myself, you know what? Ronaldo's not going to go out quietly. Messi's not going to go out quietly. So let's see what happens with their teams and how far they go and what impact they have. And let's see what role the gods are going to play in terms of how they want to shape up this tournament and the legacies that they want to leave the world remembering. So you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens for the World Cup.
No, totally. Jalf, I was going to just like sort of pivot a little bit,
Yes.
and sort of just kind of generally ask you a question around sort of, you know, in general, and not necessarily your own business, but general for businesses and generally going into, you know, like a sort of maybe a sort of, depending on where you are, a different time of year, seasonality wise.
Yeah.
How's it going, and how are things looking, you know?
I think the hospitality industry, if you're talking about we can talk about general business in the city centre, which is where I'm based on a day-to-day basis. I think the city centre is it's a little bit strange, a tad strange, because on a Monday you find, do you know, remember the olden days, Dan, when every day was like packed full of shoppers going into the city and doing their shopping and getting ready for Christmas, and there was that vibrancy every single day. Well, if that vibrancy is still, if we're still going to experience that vibrancy, I'm still waiting for it I'm talking about every single. So I walked through town on Monday, and I'm thinking, where is everybody? You know, and it was really a little bit strange, to be honest. But then saying that, some days, like the weekends, a couple of weekends ago on the Chelsea match, oh my goodness, the city centre was rampant. It was buzzing. It was like really, really buzzing. So I think the retailers, I'm noticing that they're doing a lot of sales now. So they want to maybe catch those that are looking to buy Christmas presents or buy some clothes for December, this, that, and the other. But I don't know if it's a sign of weak trade or not, and they just wanted to ramp up the trade.
And obviously it's Black Friday as well today, right? Which
it's Black Friday, but I think, to be honest, those that can see around the marketing at the end of the day, you know, I'm not going to go and stand there in a 6-hour queue to buy something, because I think it's a great marketing campaign, but generally I think there are deals available quite a lot leading up to Christmas. It's not like how it used to be, Dan, when you would wait for the January sales. I think the sales are happening before Christmas, during Christmas, and after Christmas you might get the real discounts. So overall, I think the retail is okay. From a hospitality perspective, December is the harvest, and we haven't had a December for this is what, 3 years now. So we're just hoping that we're able to get through December, have all your Christmas parties, and do the business, and then get ready for 2023. In terms of general, obviously, the media, it's not in the media as much, the increase in the energy cost, but those that are in contracts, they're going to be okay. Those that are not in contracts, and the energy bills have gone up, I think they're going to really, really suffer. And the food costs, they've been up, they've been down, they've been up, they've been down. The shortage of eggs, or there could be shortage of this or shortage of that. So these are issues that we experience and we get through. We get through them because you have to be prepared to pay crazy money for certain things at certain weeks. And it's a kind of it's a form of rationing, but it's not a form of rationing, because it's rationing, but then you have to pay the extra money if you want it.
Yeah.
And some people think, oh, I'm not going to pay 3 times for a box of eggs than what I'm used to.
Yeah.
But operators can say, look, eggs are essential. I have to pay it, and
Yeah.
we have to absorb the cost. So overall, I think it's decent, and hopefully Christmas will be what Christmas is, and the markets will be what they are, and people will come out and enjoy December.
Yeah.
And then the reality is, let's see where we are in January. So we've got what, 5-6 weeks to go, and then after that, we'll face the reality. A lot of people will face the reality and see exactly where their businesses stand.
Yeah. No, I understand that, and I recognize that. In we mentioned Black Friday, but a lot of the smaller retailers sometimes don't get a look in. People are buying at pace on discounted stuff, and I would just urge everyone to remember that to support your more local business at this time of year, because I think it's an important thing to do, even in a small way.
Absolutely, and I think, Dan, the thing about why should we support local, I think if I talk from a hospitality perspective, it's because we do things better, we do things with more care, we think about our customers a lot more. For me, we do things with, if you want to have food, you need to have good food. Who wants to have bad food? If you want to have good food, you have to cook it in the right way, you have to cook it from scratch, you have to cook it fresh. You have to know where you source your ingredients from, where your products from. You have to try and ensure that you buy, when possible, as organic as possible. You have to cook it in the right way. You have to make sure items don't have, there's so many things with pesticides and this and that, and you have to go through a cleaning process. We serve anything that we cook with stainless steel pans, because we know that if you use an aluminium pan, as you're cooking with an aluminium pan and you're stirring, little bits of that metal are coming into your dish, and we're serving along with our beautiful food. There's some bits of metal getting into your dishes. So we know and care about all of those things because we're local and we're passionate, we're individual, we're private, and we're going to give you the best of the best, or we'll try our absolute to do that. Others, they might cut corners, and it's all about a cost-saving exercise. For us, it's all about delivering quality. So locals are going to have a bit more passion. They're going to do things in the right way, in the better way. Whereas the bigger organizations, they've standardized everything to make it as simple as possible, not to make it as best as possible, because you can't get the best by simplicity. You can only get the best by being from intricacy, because you've got intricate products, which take a lot of time, effort, energy, skill to deliver. So that's why, one of the reasons why locals are always going to give you something more beyond anyone else.
Absolutely. And I am hoping to get down to Dabblewell over the festive period at some point, and enjoy the fair down there at some point. So yeah, and raise a glass or two just to kind of like try and keep our spirits going. And sort of as we go through this period of time, and the cost of living crisis and all the rest of it. So
yeah, I hope that everyone just puts all of those issues that we're all suffering from to one side for the month of December, because it is a month where it's all about family getting together, socializing, and enjoying ourselves. Let's enjoy December, and let's deal with the problems that we may face in January. So I think that would be my only message. Yeah, enjoy December and make the most of December, because it is a holy month.
So a lot of good stuff there. I think we've talked about, we've covered the NHS and healthcare, and Amar's involvement today at that conference. We've covered off Newcastle women's ladies team, and done a bit of good stuff on the World Cup, and very topical at the moment. And if you haven't seen that Richarlison goal, even if you're not a football fan, go and have a look at it.
You have to go and watch it. You have to go and watch it. It was an incredible goal. Unbelievable.
It's like Hong Kong Phooey, or not Hong Kong Phooey, Bruce Lee.
yeah, it was an unbelievable strike.
And also just the business recap, and trade and how we're going, and how things are working for Jalf and for other businesses in the region. So really interesting this week, Jalf, and fantastic to talk again. I think we're going to have a lot of good stuff to talk about next week too. When are you away?
I'm away. I'm here next week. The week after, I won't be. I'm away on the 8th, which is a Friday, I think. Well, Thursday night, I think I go. But yeah, we're gonna have some fun because it's really expensive to get hotel rooms over there at the moment because of obviously all the operators have put the prices up. So a nice room is going to cost you 400 or 500 quid a night.
Wow.
But if you wanna go and have a lifetime experience, then I guess you have to always be prepared to pay for those things. So we're going down and really looking forward to it, and get a bit of hot weather as well. So,
well, send us some photographs, please.
Yeah,
and some video coverage, and online, and it'll be great to kind of share that experience. And
yeah, I think it's a really small country as well, Dan. So I'm wondering, because all the footballers, former footballers, are all going to be walking around the same streets and go to the same places. So it'll be interesting to see who you bump into and stuff, because how many, you got like 1 million people there, but you got
your only Bollywood station in Newcastle. Spice FM 98.8 FM. A person has died after a vehicle being followed by police collided with another vehicle in Essex. Officers had been following a vehicle which failed to stop when requested shortly after